Breaking news, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot drops big bombshell. Recently, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot made a shocking announcement that has everyone talking in the NFL. So, what's going on? Let's dive into the details. But before we jump in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest updates and off-season news from Atlanta. After the Falcons finished with a disappointing 8-9 record, Fontenot spoke to the media and dropped a major surprise about veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins. Despite a tough season that ended with Cousins sitting on the bench, Fontenot revealed that the Falcons are actually comfortable moving forward with him as a backup. Yes, you heard that right. Cousins, who signed a huge 4-year, $180 million contract last offseason, could be the highest-paid backup in the league. Let's break this down. Atlanta brought in Cousins expecting big things from their new quarterback, but the results have been far from what they hoped for. Cousins has completed 66.9% of his passes for 3,358 yards, 18 touchdowns, and a league-high 16 interceptions. His struggles hit a low point when he was benched after a disappointing game against the Raiders, where he threw for just 112 yards in a close 15-9 win. To make things worse, over his last 5 starts, Cousins' performance hasn't improved much. Kirk Cousins' future. Why keep him as a backup? Over his last 5 starts, Cousins has thrown just 1 touchdown compared to 9 interceptions. It's clear that things aren't going well for him. And now, with the Falcons drafting quarterback Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick, just after signing Cousins, there's even more reason to question Cousins' role. Penix has shown real promise when he's been on the field, and he's expected to be the starting QB in 2025. So, why keep Cousins around? That's the big question. The financial side of this situation is where it gets tricky. If the Falcons stick with Cousins, he's due a $10 million roster bonus in 2026, which would be fully guaranteed by March 16, 2025. The real kicker? Cutting him after June 1st would leave the Falcons with a whopping $40 million in dead cap space for 2025 and another $25 million for 2026, without any immediate salary cap relief. It's not ideal, to say the least. But keeping Cousins as a backup with such a massive salary raises a whole new set of problems. Even analysts aren't convinced it's the right move. ESPN's Field Yates pointed out that there's no way the Falcons can afford to pay a backup QB $37.5 million next season. And it's hard to argue with that. Spending that much for a backup would be a huge blow to a team that's still working to rebuild its defense. In the end, the real question for the Falcons is whether they're willing to admit that the Cousins signing was a mistake. It's clear that the high expectations for him didn't work out as planned, and now the team has to figure out what's next. Should the Falcons move on from Cousins? The Falcons may have to absorb that financial hit and cut ties with Cousins, especially with Michael Penix showing promise as the future of the franchise. So, Falcons fans, what do you think? Should Atlanta move on from Cousins, take the cap hit, and fully commit to Penix as the starter? Or do you think keeping Cousins around as a mentor is still worth the cost? During his end-of-season press conference, GM Terry Fontenot didn't hold back. He admitted that the Falcons haven't won enough under his leadership. With a 29-39 record over 4 seasons and no playoff appearances, it's clear the team has struggled. But despite the criticism, Fontenot remains confident and unshaken when it comes to his job security. He acknowledged the lack of success, saying, "We haven't done a good enough job. I haven't done a good enough job. We haven't won enough, and that starts with me." Strong words from the GM, but he also expressed his belief in the young talent on the roster. In fact, Fontenot pointed out that 70% of the team's offensive production this season came from players under the age of 25, the best percentage in the league. But here's the dilemma for Atlanta. The Falcons enter the offseason with just $3.96 million in cap space and only 4 draft picks, according to Over the Cap. That's tight for a team that's hoping to make a playoff push. Luckily, Fontenot has helped guide the franchise out of cap trouble before, but this offseason will be a real challenge. Should Fontenot stay as GM? Last year's massive $90 million trade for Kirk Cousins has left the Falcons in another tough financial spot. Now, some fans are questioning whether GM Terry Fontenot is the right person to lead the team moving forward. When asked about his job security, Fontenot was straightforward, yet calm. "I'm not worried," he said. "It doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from focus. My job is to go in and be as effective as I can every day. I don't think about my mortality in this position. I just want to focus on winning." There are some positives to point out. Atlanta's offensive line is pretty much set for 2025, with only center Drew Dahlman needing a contract extension. Key signings like cornerback A.J. Terrell and safety Jesse Bates have paid off. But let's be honest, the defense is still a major problem. None of the Falcons' 5 defensive draft picks started a game this year, which is a big issue when you're trying to build a well-rounded team. Fontenot has highlighted the young offensive core, led by Michael Penix Jr., Bijan Robinson, and Drake London, as reasons for hope. But as he knows, talk isn't enough. At the end of the day, Fontenot admitted, "We haven't won enough. We have to look at every aspect of everything we're doing. The most important statistic is wins and losses." So, Falcons fans, is Fontenot still the right man to lead this team? Or should Atlanta consider a fresh start? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Falcons defense, is a change coming? It's been a roller coaster ride for the Falcons this season. After a strong 6-3 start, the team fell to a disappointing 8-9 finish, missing the playoffs again, despite having the talent to win the NFC South. The defense, however, was a major issue. It's clear that something needs to change if Atlanta wants to contend in 2025. Head coach Arthur Morris seems to be hinting at that change, and all eyes are now on defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake. Lake, who came over from the Rams to work with Morris, has faced a lot of criticism. The defense has struggled to pressure opposing quarterbacks consistently and has been plagued by missed tackles and blown coverages, costing the team several winnable games. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler recently reported that there's a growing chance the Falcons will part ways with Lake after just one season. The need for change is obvious, but the big question is, will Morris take action? If a change is made, there are some strong defensive minds available. Ryan Nealon, formerly of the Jaguars and recently with Atlanta, could be a good fit. Jeff Albert, former defensive coordinator and interim head coach for the Jets, also has connections with Morris. Other respected names like Lou Anarumo, Gus Bradley, Matt Eberflus, and Robert Saleh, coaches with NFL head coaching experience, could bring discipline and results to a struggling defense. But here's the bottom line. It's not just about finding a new coach. The Falcons' defensive problems run deep. The fan base is tired of seeing the same issues year after year. There's talent, guys like A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates III, Arnold Ebiketie, and more. But the results just aren't there. If the Falcons want to make it back to the postseason for the first time since 2017, they can't keep making the same mistakes. Arthur Blank and the front office need to show they're serious about winning. Whether that means moving on from Lake or overhauling the entire defense, action is needed. Now. We've seen this before. Close but not quite there in 1997 and 2015, only to break out in 1998 and 2016. Could 2025 be the year? Now, Falcons fans, we want to hear from you. Should Jimmy Lake be let go? What changes do you want to see on the Falcons defense? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for the latest Falcons news and analysis. Rise up! Go Falcons!